Right, so last lesson, when we left off in Monday, we started on your stem and leaf plots, and we found out that there was two different displays for your stem and leaf plots. We also did dot plots. They're pretty straightforward. Remember that your dot plots are on a number line like this, and each value or each dot represents the fact that there is a value for that number, okay? So just be mindful of that. Make sure you also label your dot plots. The bigger focus here is going to be your stem and leaf plots, okay? And they're basically another way or another display for your numerical data. Remember, numerical data is data that's like mean, median, mode. You can count it, you can measure it. And you also are asked to talk about the shape of it, and also maybe talk about where's the median, where's the middle. And sometimes as well, you might be asked, certain amounts, like for question D here, what percentage of students had a height between this amount and that amount. And then, so that's focusing on finding percentages. So if you forgot how to do that, look back at your notes earlier in this topic. Okay, we did look through that. All right, chapter 2G. So now that we've got our data displays, or some of our data displays, we're going to look at summary of some of your data as well. So summarizing, meaning making or using the data and trying to represent it using maybe one number or maybe using a certain measure of center. Okay, so a summary statistic is basically representing the data so that you can describe it, okay, whilst talking about the center. Okay, and when you talk about center, you've probably heard of this before, measures of your center. This, okay, these measures of center, you would have heard this in year 8, 9, and 10 previously. Okay, measures of center, there's mainly 3 that you guys have heard of before. Can anyone tell me what the 3 measures of center might be that you would have heard in data in the past? All starting with M. Mean, median, mode. Okay, 3 measures of center that you would have heard about that represents a set of data using one number. So the mean in here, so look at the first one, is basically, some people call it the average. Okay, average, where you add everything up and then you divide it by the number of numbers that you have added. Let me fix that up. Okay, average. So the average is when you add all your numbers, okay, and then you divide it by however many numbers you have, and that gives you the average or the mean. The median, okay, here is when data is ordered. Okay, so here's a very important thing you have to remember. You have to put your numbers in order first before you calculate the median. Okay, and the reason why is you're trying to find the middle point of that data. That's what the median is, the middle. Okay, so when you put it, if you don't put it in order, okay, let's say for example, you've got 12, 15, 14, 10, 20, okay, and I ask you, hey, what's the middle of this data? And you quote to me, oh, I think it's 14, you're probably going to be wrong, okay, because this isn't ordered. You have to put the numbers in order before you actually work with it. So be mindful of that when you're finding the median. Also, another thing with the median, and that's really cool, is this little formula here. This gives you the position or the location of where the median is, not the actual numerical value of the median, but where it is in your numbers. Okay, and I'm not sure if there's an example here for it, but I'll do one really quickly. Let's say you have a bunch of random numbers like 10, 13, 15, 16, 20, 21, okay? And we're asked to find, actually we'll go with an uneven amount of numbers, 22. Oh, sorry, uneven, okay? So let's firstly find here, using this formula, okay, finding the location or the position of the median. N, okay, here, this N, okay, refers to number of numbers. Okay, how many numbers do we have in this bit of data? So if we were to apply that formula to figure out the position of the median here, it's going to be how many numbers? Well, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 numbers. So 7, using that formula, 7 plus the 1 divided by 2. Okay, that's 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Okay, so that means the position, okay, the position or the location of the median is the fourth number. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that means the median is 16. It's the fourth number. If, okay, I was to change this around, and let's say I'll add another number actually. Let's add another number. Let's go 35. Okay. Okay, this now changes to this. Okay, what is the position of this now? So using my formula again, I've got 8 numbers this time. I'll just double check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 plus 1, using that formula, it's going to be 9 over 2, which is 4.5. So the 4.5th number. So that means the median is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4.5, which is here. So between 16 and 20. Does anyone know how to find the median between two numbers? Yes, Zach.
You add them both together, then you divide it by 2.
Thank you. Okay, so you add these two together, and then you divide it by 2. So 16 plus 20 is 36, divided by 2 equals 18. Okay, so that means the median is 18. All right, that's your median for this these numbers. All right, so just keep that in mind, or bear that in mind when you're finding the median. Let's keep going. So why do we use mean and median? Okay, well, depending on the data that you're working with, sometimes one measure of center can be better than the other. Okay, you want to make sure you use the most appropriate one. So these are some rules that you need to be mindful of when we ask you which one is a better representation, the mean or the median. If your data, okay, is somewhat skewed, okay, like this, okay, it generally means it's better to use the median if your data is skewed, okay? And if you look at this data as well, you can see that the mean, okay, doesn't quite fully represent the data properly, okay? Hence why, if your data, I'm not sure if it's actually here somewhere. Oh yeah, it will tell you here. Okay, so that's why if your data is skewed, it's generally better to use the median as a display, because if you examine where the mean of the location is, yes, it's over here, somewhere in the middle, but it's not fully representing all of the data properly, okay? So you want to make sure if it's skewed, you use the median. Same if it's negatively skewed, okay? We use the median. All right, so down here is a good summary of that. If it's symmetrical, okay, so there's no, generally approximately symmetrical, sorry, you can use mean or median. Generally, I think the mean is better if it's symmetrical, but you can use either. But again, if it's skewed, okay, not symmetric, then we use the median. Just keep that in mind when we ask you that question. All right, let's do some examples here. So we're going to find the mean and the median of the following data sets, and then we're going to write them to 4 significant figures. Bear that in mind. Okay, we've got to answer this to 4 sig figs. For each of the sets as well, which is a more appropriate center, give a reason. All right, so I'm going to give you guys time to do that on your calculator if you have it. Open it up. I want you to find the mean and the median. So for the mean, remember, you need to add all of the numbers up and then divide it by however many numbers you have. For the median, put the numbers in order first and then find the middle number. Again, we're going to stick to the same question. We're going to do part B. Okay, so how do we now determine which is a better measure of center? So what I want you to do, guys, is get your CAS calculator out. Okay, get your CAS calculator out. Let's go to the main menu. Press the home button if you're not there. Go new, and then you're going to go lists and spreadsheets. So please do this because it's good practice. I'm going to get you guys to do this again. So you need to put your data into the list and spreadsheets. For now, let's work with the first lot of numbers. So just part I.
What is it called? Spreadsheet.
Lists and spreadsheets. It should be the 4th one.
What?
All right, so I'll do that again. Go home, go new, and then press the home button. Number 4, lists and spreadsheets. Okay, and remember, before you do any of this data entering, make sure you label it. So you can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it numbers. because if you don't, it's not going to work. So 26, 19, 25, 13, 24, 23, 23, 25,
What do I name you starting?
whatever you want. You can call it banana head if you like.
Why is this keyboard so weird?
Yeah, it's not a QWERTY keyboard, unfortunately. All right, we'll just wait for the stragglers. So put those numbers in.
Oh, can you like the ordered ones? Does it not ordered?
It doesn't matter. Put just the first lot, Jordan. So A, part I. We're just doing the first one. I'm going to make the other one 2 now. I'll call this numbers 2. Get quick at putting the numbers in, guys, because that's what takes up the most time. But make sure you do it accurately.
Which numbers you always said? The first one or the second?
The first one, just the first one.
So why have you got the second one?
I'm just getting it ready now.
I'll put the other data set as well.
If you want to, you can, but I'm just doing the first. We're just focusing on the first one for now.
Well, then I have to read all this.
So did you put
You have to read
did you put IS and the other IS?
Yes.
So you put both of them.
If you want to for now, but I'm just saying for now, just do the first one.
Okay.
Okay, we're all ready. We're doing the first one. All right. So for the first one, once you put your numbers in, just ignore this. You don't need it. You put your numbers in. There you go. Control I. Control I. And then we're going to go to number 5. You can press number 5 and it'll open up for you there. Okay. And on the bottom, whatever you've called your data, click on that and go to the name of it. So I'm going numbers because that's what I've called it. And it should organize your numbers into a dot plot. Okay, from there, now the best way to actually do this is because of the nature of this, it's probably a good idea to make this instead of a histogram, make it a box plot. Okay, make it into a box plot. Now, if you'll remember back to when we started talking about the shapes, I did mention to you guys before that there are the shapes also correspond to, or your histogram shapes also correspond to the shape of your box plots. Let me just find that. I think it was 2F. Remember this? Okay, so the shapes on your histograms also correspond to your box plot. So if you look at these shapes, which skew would this box plot be? Have a think, have a look. Which one would it be?
Wait, sorry, can you bring it up again?
Yep, so there it is. It's negatively skewed. So remember what we learned. If your data is skewed, which is a better measure of center? Okay, look at this. So, which is better? If it's skewed, use the median. So for part B, for both, okay, it's better to use, I'll just write here, maybe next to the question, use median. Okay, for this data. Okay, because this data is skewed. It's not symmetrical, okay, when you put it in your box plot. I'll do the other one for you guys, so you won't need to do the other one. For the other bit of data, okay, I'm going to do the same. Oh, whoops. Okay, I'll just do it again, sorry.
So do I draw the box plot?
No, you don't have to draw the box plot. It's only asking for you, from what it's asking from you is, which is the best measure of center. And remember, if your data is skewed, okay, we use the median. But if it's symmetrical, then you use the mean. Okay, mean or median. So again, numbers, 21, 24. The good thing about the CAS as well, guys, is you don't actually have to put the numbers in order. It already does it for you. Okay, so I'll do it for you. 21, 24, 28, 30, 34,
Are we
30.
meant to build a box plot?
No, not yet. Okay, for this one, so you can actually figure out what's the best measure of center.
Oh, wait, so what are we doing now?
I'm just doing the other one for you, the other set of data.
Okay. I was really
Right, so for this one, same thing. You put your numbers in. We go Control I. Okay, data and stats. I've called this numbers. Put it in numbers. You've got your dot plot. Make it into a box plot. Okay, now have a look at this. Okay, what would you say this is?
Negative.
Again, negatively skewed. So you would say, because it's skewed, use the median, or the median is a better measure of center. Okay, the median would be better for that one. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to the next part, and then we're going to start exercises. So we've looked at measures of center. So you've got mean, median. We already know what mode is. Mode is the most frequent, but mode only really applies to categorical data. Okay. Now we've got measures of spread. So there are 3 measures of spread that you're going to be learning about, and you're going to need your calculator for this as well. Okay. Measures of spread is basically measuring the range of your data. Where does it start? Where does it finish? Okay. And where would you find your data? Like between which 2 bits of numbers. So 3 measures of spread that we're going to use are IQR, which you've learnt before, the range, and the standard deviation. Okay, those 3. So IQR, range, and standard deviation. Those are the 3 measures of spread that we're going to be using for this chapter. All right, so you've probably learnt this already. IQR, okay, refers to finding the Q3, finding the Q1, and then minusing them from each other, okay? I will go over that a little bit shortly. Okay, so Q3 is the median of the upper half. Q1 is the median of the lower half of your data. So if, for example, you have this data right here, and I split it right in half, the Q1 would be the middle of this lower half, and then Q3 would be the middle of this upper half, okay? I'll go through that shortly. You can actually do all this on your calculator as well. Range, as we know, we've probably learned this before. The highest number, take away the lowest number. Okay, that's really easy. Max minus min. Now, standard deviation, well, you don't have to calculate it by hand because the calculator will do it for you. Okay, but on your calculator, it looks like this, SX. Okay. All right, I'm only going to do one example for this, and then we'll start the exercise. So on our CAS calculator, let's get them out one more time. Find the IQR, the range, and standard deviation for these sets of data, okay? So we'll just do A. All right, so let's just do part A, and I'll show you guys how it's done here.
Can I close the title box plot now?
Yes, you can close it. Add a new calculator, start a new list and spreadsheet for this one. Okay, so I want you to put in those numbers, but don't put it in for now. You don't need to find any box plots or anything like that. Just put the numbers in.
So is it the same numbers from the other?
Are they the same? Okay, good. Even better. I'll have to do it again though. Thank you, Anthony. But put him in again maybe, just so you can practice putting numbers in. 39, 47, 45. Okay, put your numbers in. But we're not going to make any box plots or anything like that here. We're going to do a summary of your statistics here. And again, this is why it's good to have a CAS, because it makes working with the numbers just a lot easier and a lot quicker. So once you're here, we're going to do a summary basically, or get a summary of all of these numbers. So to do that, press menu. Okay, do number 4, statistics. Okay, from there, go stat calculation. So number 1. And then we're just going to go with one variable statistics. Okay, I'll repeat that again. So press menu, number 4 statistics, number 1 stat calc, number 1 variable statistics. And then from there, just go OK, number of lists. Okay, now while you're here, okay, you just need to now put in, and this is why it's important to label your columns, because if you don't label it, this is not going to come up. Okay, whatever you've labeled it, put it in X1 list, and then go OK. And what you'll find is now you've got a summary of all of your numbers here and what each of the, how we represent these numbers. So you've got a few things here to look out for. This X with a line on top is your mean. Okay, that's the mean of your valid data. Okay, did you get the wrong numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, double check your numbers. You should have 14 numbers.
Yeah, I've got 14, but like,
Check that you've put all
my
them.
thing looks different to like what you've got, I think.
Okay, check that your numbers are.
I said no one.
Yeah, check. Okay. This here is the mean, okay, in your data. So good thing is, if your question asks you to look for the mean, just use your calculator. It'll do it for you. Next thing to look at is this. This is your standard deviation, 9.37644. Okay. These ones won't worry about, but the next few we will. So n refers to how many numbers you have, and then here you've got your minimum, your Q1, your median, your Q3, and your maximum. Okay. Thank you. All right, so these are the important numbers right here that we're going to focus on. And look, you've got your median as well, so you don't have to look for your median. It gives it to you. So as for our answers then, because it does ask us to look for range, IQR, range, and standard deviation. So for the first one, for the range, okay, let's answer that. So for A, the range. Oh, sorry, the IQR. Remember, the formula for IQR is Q3 take away Q1. So that would be, in this case, 45 take away 28. Right, and that would be 13. No, actually, 17.
45 minus 30 this stuff.
Yeah, I got 30 as well.
I didn't use the number.
Did I put the wrong numbers in there, maybe? All right, my bad.
Come on.
All right, let me double check that then. Okay, 44, 44, 21, 34, 24, 4, there you go, 47, not 27. 47, 45, 44. Okay, all right, that should be correct now then. Yep.
Is there a way to find the standard deviation about the calculation?
No, there is, but it's a really long formula.
I believe it's just the standard deviation.
I do, but I won't teach it to you because it's very confusing.
Standard deviation, like,
So-
what does it represent?
Good question. Standard deviation is basically, so let's say you have a bell curve, right? I'll talk about this now actually. You have a bell curve. Let's say everybody here, your scores were put on a bell curve. And let's say that Jordan got the highest score. So he would be all the way here in the bell curve. And let's say Rocco, just for an example, got the lowest score. Okay, this is your range. And maybe everyone else is sort of in the middle. Okay, standard deviation is from the middle, basically a numerical value of how far you are from that middle. So the average. So let's say the middle is the average. Rocco, your standard deviation, for example, let's say the middle is 50. One standard deviation is a score of is 2.5 points. So if I said Rocco was 2 standard deviations above, so that means if the middle is 50 and he's 2 standard deviations above, he would have gotten like 55 as a score. Okay, so the standard deviation, think about the words, deviation just means how far are you from a certain point. The standard is the middle, the deviation is basically a measure of how far you are from that. Okay, so it's just that's the measure that we use to basically put people on a bell curve, but that's here or there because we're not really learning about what it means for now, just how to find it. Next one is the range. So the range, remember, is maximum minus the minimum. So if you go back to your calculator, the maximum is 47, minimum is 21. Okay, so 45, actually I'll do that here. Which equals 45 take away, what did I say? Sorry, 47 take away 21, thank you. Which equals 26. And then the standard deviation, the symbol we'll use the SX for the standard deviation for this. And according to this calculator, to these numbers, it's 9.45. I don't think it tells us to put any significant figures. Yeah. Okay, yep, 9.45. Okay, for the standard deviation. So remember,
9.24.
oh, sorry, what am I looking at? My bad. 9.26. So we'll go 9.25. I think I need glasses. All right, so again, just to recap on your calculator, X with a dash on top is your mean, SX is the standard deviation, N is the number of numbers, there's your minimum, Q1, median, Q3, maximum. Okay, those are the important things you need to know from this data set. And I'll recap again real quick how to do that. Okay, let me get rid of all this. So once you put your numbers, make sure you label the column, menu, for, number one, oops, sorry, menu for stat calc, one variable stats, click OK. Make sure you label it so you can put it in here, numbers, then OK, and then there again is your data. Okay. Are there any questions? Any questions? So that's basically it for 2G. You're going to now start on your exercises.